And hello, everyone. Yes, I can. It's always good when you see people to come in. Oh, you're jumping in fast now. So good afternoon if you're over in the UK like us. Good morning if you're over in America. Um, Slightly different this week. Can you see we're in the same room? How exciting is this? So we have like a broom cupboard at work, which we're sat in, and yes, it's very nice. So nice to do this webinar today with David. As always, we have Will over in the chat. So everyone say hi in the chat as you come through and who you're from. There you go. There's Will starting off by saying hello. So today we are going to be delving into the vault. And one of the reasons why we really want to do this webinar is we've had so many customer calls lately where we highlight the vault and everyone's like, oh, didn't realize it. I think my favorite comment was the one who said it just sounded dusty and archaic, which I was like, fair point. But it's not. It's a really fun part of coverage book, and you can do loads of different things from there. So David, as always, will be doing the demo part. I'll be chirping in of where I'm excited about the vault as we go along. And feel free to ask questions as you go along. Will is there sat primed to answer any of your questions, or if it needs more of a demo, we'll do that at the end. We will record the session and send that to everybody after with all notes. Hi Millie, hi Darcy, I think Nancy raised her hand. So I think that's all the intros.
I think so.
Okay. So yes, I'll hand over to David and he'll show you what this dusty vault can actually do.
Thanks, Laura. So today is all about the coverage vault. We did do a webinar on this some months ago, but we have made a couple of really small and subtle changes to the coverage vault, which make it even more of a useful and powerful tool. So we can look at that. And so hopefully you will find, if you have used the coverage vault before, this is useful. If you haven't used the coverage vault, we will introduce all the features and get you up and running, and hopefully you'll find out it's a really good part of the app. So without further ado, I just need to get my mouse cursor over here. Let me just share my screen. Great. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see my screen now. Brilliant. So there are two ways that you can access the coverage vault. The first is that we have a main menu link up in the top left-hand corner of the screen. If you click into this link, it will take you to the vault. It's probably not the most appealing thing visually because it's kind of just like a massive spreadsheet, but essentially it contains all of the clippings that you've ever added to your account since you've been a customer with us. So this will show you everything that you've ever added. And there are lots of different things that you can do from this area.
So even if you've deleted the book, we can still find the clips in here.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you ever make a book and delete or archive it, we will still keep the clippings in here that you can reuse in future as well. So they're always there for you to use. Actually, it's probably a good time to mention that once you have imported a piece of coverage as well, you can use it as many times as you like. It doesn't count towards your monthly usage limits. So you can just add it to as many different books as you like. That's absolutely fine. So it's super flexible.
And you've got it. So show it off as many ways as you can. Every time you get a chance in front of your client, it's worth, this is a great piece of coverage.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get into the features, I just wanted to show you one other thing that we've added, which is super helpful. If you use folders to organize your coverage, whether you're an agency with lots of different clients, or perhaps you have regions, different teams, products, brands, whatever it might be. If you click into any of your folders of coverage that contain reports, you'll see that we've now added a new link that says view all coverage in folder. And what this basically does is it takes you just to that particular folder's coverage in the vault. So it's just an additional filter that can be super helpful. So if ever you want to see just all of the clippings for a particular folder, if you access it from the books page first, it will take you straight here. So that's a nice handy way to get to the coverage vault. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to start off with an introduction, and we're just going to basically look through all of the different features and explain what all of the buttons and filters do. We're going to look at some other things as well, like how you can use the coverage vault to quickly find your best performing pieces of coverage. We're then going to move on to looking at how you can use the vault to make summaries. So this is probably one of the best areas in the app from where you can just grab some clips and add them to other books. You can smash books together to make summaries, and we'll go through all of that. We'll also look at using highlights and how you can pick out your best pieces using that in just a few clicks, which is a really cool thing. And then finally, we'll finish on how you can share a single piece of coverage. So there's quite a lot to get through. But yeah.
And they're good.
Yeah. Okay, let's go. So the first thing we're going to look at is the search bar at the top. Now, this is actually a really helpful thing because one of the things that we get asked most about on customer support, probably around books and clips, is I'm trying to find a particular clip in a book. So if you tend to make like really large books with loads of sections, sometimes it can be quite difficult to know where that piece of coverage is inside the book. And you might also think, have tried to import a bunch of links to a book, and some of them don't seem to have imported because it's probably that the link is already in that book. So you can use this to search for the clip title or the outlet name, and you can either put in the full name or you can put in the partial, and we will bring back all of the results. So for example, if I search for BBC, you'll see that we've got a load down here. So I can basically just go to this and click on it. Now, what's really interesting about this particular edit view is that it will show you a link to all of the different books where you featured this piece of coverage. So it's also really helpful to see how many times you've reused this coverage across multiple reports. This is probably quite an extreme example. It's just because we reuse coverage across books for our training and stuff, but at least it gives you an idea. And then from here, if you click on any of these book links, it jumps you straight into the clip edit view of the clip. And you'll see that it also takes you directly to the section that the piece of coverage is in. So it's a really quick and easy way to find a piece of coverage if you've lost one. If you just click back on your browser, it will take you back to that Coverage Vault search page. Yeah, so that's a really useful help if you get stuck looking for a piece of coverage. So I'll just clear that. You'll also notice that every time you add a filter, there's just some buttons at the top. If you just X those out, you can actually just clear the filters and it will return back to your original search parameters. Now, the next drop down we have is the media type. Super simple. This is where you can basically just search for all of the different types of categories of coverage. So if you're looking just for all of your Instagram clips for your social media team, perhaps, you can just filter for all of your Instagram coverage and they will just come up. So again, it's super simple to use. You can reset at any point either by checking these or just going back and clicking on all media types, and we'll make sure that goes back.
And you don't have to have separated your coverage within books in those sections. I know I got asked that the other day. Do we have to separate it by online so I can find all the online pieces later? No, if you have your books and their sections, I say January, February, March, April, you can still come down here and find all of your Instagram, Facebook coverage by using the search function. So it's quite good.
Yeah, definitely. And then we'll just like the next folder down. This is simply a folder search. So again, if you wanted to just dive into a particular client's or a particular folder of coverage, you can just search just for that coverage really quickly. You can then take it a couple of steps further. So the next one is books. So you can actually search for an individual report in your account. You can either just use the drop down, or if you've got loads of reports, you can just search for it using a text search. And then you'll also notice that we've added a new section drop down. So this has been a relatively new feature release within the last sort of several months. And basically this allows you to now filter by each section of coverage in your reports. So you can go really, really granular. So for example, you can pick out just one section of clips to see all of those in this list. So it's super useful.
So this is really cool if you are speaking to maybe just a particular team. So now we've looked at the women's football book, for example, might have been an overall, it's the June book. But if you just want to quickly make a book that's just for the social team or just to see the events coverage, you can just click quickly, find that coverage, make a book out of it. And then when you have that meeting, you can focus in just on that particular activity or section of coverage. So it's a real good way just to make sure that coverage is not getting lost. And when you have meetings, you have the right coverage to hand when you need to.
Cool. Yeah. So those are kind of the the meatier searches, if you will, where you can sort of get really granular and search per book, per section, etc. But we also have, I'm just going to clear all these filters. We also have some quick options at the bottom. This checkbox is just highlights. I'll go into that a little bit more later. But if you tend to pick out the best pieces of coverage in a report using the gold star icon to create your highlights page, you can search just for those clips with a few button clicks, which is super cool. And then below that, we also have the published on and added on dates. And these are pretty much as they say. So the published on will be the date that the article was published. So you can search from the earliest to the latest, which is great for bringing up an annual list of all of your coverage. And you can also do it on added on earliest or latest. So you can see perhaps when the coverage landed or when you added it to your account, which could be quite useful. And again, all you need to do is just click on this, select a month, a year, and the 1st of January, for example, and then we can go back and do the same for December. So I can quickly see that last year I added 942 clips across my whole account. So it's super simple to use. You can also filter using the drop downs above. Now, this is a really good thing. What I would suggest, though, is that for coverage to show up in this published date search parameters, they need to have published dates. So what you would need to do is just make sure that all of your online clippings have a published date. There are a couple of quick ways that you can basically do that. So if you look in the outlets list, you've got the published date column on the right here. You can actually just either select newest or oldest and then just go right to the end of your coverage. And we will show you all of the pieces of coverage that don't have a date so that you can go back in and add those. If you've got quite a lot of coverage in your account, it might be worth doing that by folder as well. So again, you can just click on that, scroll down to the bottom. And then I can see that I've got one print clipping here that doesn't have a published date. So all you need to do is just go into that print clipping, click on the published date area, and you can basically give that a date, and then it will make sure that it appears in your searches. Yeah, so if you do that, you can reliably use the published on date range search to quickly get a bunch of clips really easily. Now, again, I've kind of stepped ahead a little bit here, but you will also see that you have a select all and some individual checkboxes. This is super simple. Once you've got a filter of coverage, you can either select all of the clips or you can choose to remove a selection. So it's flexible. Once you have that selection of clips, you'll notice that there are a couple of other buttons that appear below. So one that says create new book from selection, and another that says add selection to existing book. We'll come on to those actually in a couple of moments, but these are the buttons that you would use basically to make summaries and to merge books together and stuff, but we'll cover that in a moment. And as you noticed as well, you can click on any of these columns and arrange by A to Z, Z to A, or by most recent or oldest, or in fact by highest or lowest. So this is also a really good thing. And that leads me nicely onto how to quickly find your best performing pieces of coverage. So yeah, essentially what you could potentially do is if your particular client says to you, I just want to know which piece of coverage got the highest number of views, you can just quickly...
Or even if they don't ask and you want to tell them which one.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you want something quickly to bring to a client meeting, it's worth having a look at this, whether it's like a monthly meeting or a quarterly meeting. You can quickly make a book of some of the best bits. It's quite a good way to start a meeting off, I found in the past.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. So yeah, so again, you can just like hit this folder drop down, and then all you would need to do is you can just cycle through the views column. So we can see here that this Sky Sports post on Instagram got the highest number of views for this particular client. You can also do the same for audiences and engagements. And engagements is a really interesting one because we collate the number of times an article has been shared across Facebook, Facebook, X, and Pinterest. And we also collect platform-specific engagements like likes, comments, shares, plays, etc. And it can be a really good indicator of an additional level of engagement around that piece of coverage. So again, this is a really good way of looking at how your best performing pieces have done.
It's really cool because you can see that people like it might be nice that the publication reached 11.9 million and then more people like to see it, but the engagement figure really shows that people read something and then did something because of it. So you move some people to action, to share it and to engage with it. So I think it's a really cool metric to always be talking about. And then you can look at some of your pieces that do have the most engagements. I've always hated the word viral, but they will become your most viral pieces. You know, if you look in maybe a folder of a specific client and look at all the coverage you've ever had for that client, which ones have had the most engagements, what you can make a book out of it, and what stories do they have in common? Are there influences that you were using in common? And you can get some really good insights for planning with this. So really recommend getting to grips with this and chopping and changing. Remember, when you create a book, it doesn't use up any of your coverage. So quickly create a book, have a look through, share it with your client, and just start planning from there. So yeah, I really like engagements, can you tell?
Brilliant. Thank you. Yeah, so do have a play around with these columns. As I say, you can filter, you can play around with the coverage vault as much as you like, just to do some research, get a feel for it. Do ask any questions if you need to as well. Before we move on to the exciting topic of making report summaries, there's a couple of other buttons just to mention as well. So you'll notice that if you click into any of these clips, it will open up this edit page. So this allows you to make some edits to this particular piece of coverage. You can change some of the numbers and engagements and so on. You'll also be able to see all of the books that this coverage has been added to. Just be aware that this is a really good time to mention if you do make any edits to a piece of coverage that's placed into a number of different books, it will update that clip in all of those books for you. So so you only have to make one edit, and it will update across all of those reports for you. You've also got
it will also edit every clip in that book.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it works both ways. But just remember that it will edit it, but if you want to edit it, it's all good.
Yeah. And there's a few other options that you can do here. So you can add this clip to other books. You can also make copies of this clip if you want to edit it differently, etc. And you can move this clip as well to other areas from here. I'll look at the share link last, actually. So let's have a look at how you make summaries. So let's start with the quick option, which is using the published on date range. I think this is probably going to be the easiest way if somebody just says, I just need a book with all of the headline numbers for 2023, 2024. You can just do that super quickly. It's really easy to do. So I'll just quickly do this year. So January 1st, 2024 to today's date.
And the date range is really cool, actually, for if you're creating an award entry and you want supplementary material. The date ranges that they often ask you to do are not what your monthly reports are. So you can quickly use this, create a book, and then add that to your appendix material at the end of your award entry. So it's a quick way. I know how tight it is writing those entries. So quickly pull a book. This is how I use these dates, and then you can add that to your appendix.
Awesome.
Sorry, David, I said I'd keep interrupting.
Yeah, no problem at all. No, it's amazing insight. So yeah, so once you're here, all you need to do is just click on select all. You've got all of your clips. Just hit create new book from selection. I'll just call this one 2024 coverage. And then we'll make sure that we add it to our women's football folder. Just hit create book and add coverage, and that's done. So
if you miss the folder, though, you can always add it to a folder later. So don't worry too much.
Yeah, you can. But that just shows you how quickly, in just a few button clicks, you can just add all of your year's summary in all of your year's coverage into a single book. We will pull that through and we will create a brand new summary report from that report, and you'll see all of those clips are going in now. It takes a couple of moments for some of these pages to come through, but yeah, it's super quick to get all of your coverage for the year into a book. using the published date range. The other option that you can do is to be a little bit more granular with this. So I think, is it fair to say that probably monthly reports are the most popular?
Yeah, I'd say, yeah.
Yeah.
Most, like, we often see like either one ongoing book, or like this screen is showing like a May report, June, July, August. Because obviously you want to share that with your client as you go along. This coverage, we've got monthly reports, but then often you want that as an end of year report, but all the coverage within its own section, right? Whereas when you showed us just a minute ago, all your coverage will go into one section.
Yeah.
So if you do want to see your coverage drilled down per section, Dave's going to show you how now.
I am, absolutely. Yeah, so if you do create individual monthly reports to get those monthly metrics, you can actually just add those books together in turn really quickly. So all you need to do is go to the coverage vault, search for your first book. Again, I mentioned that you can type in here. So just look for January 2024 coverage. I'm going to select all of this coverage and then create a new book. And we'll call this one 2024 first quarter report. Again, I'm just going to select the folder. Okay, so I've created my first book. So what I can now do is I can now just go and find the February book. So I can either scroll down and find it or search for it. There it is. And then what I can do is just select all of the coverage. And what I'm going to do now is just click on Add Selection to Existing Book. It already pre-populates that book. And what I'm going to do now is create my first section, which is February. Oh, can never type when February 2024, add section, add those items to the book. And you can basically keep going doing this 1 month at a time to create your reports. If you do create separate monthly reports and you'd like to keep an ongoing book as well, you can do that side by side. And actually it means that when you get to the end of the year and you've added your December coverage, you've already got your finalized summary report made with your 12 sections of monthly coverage, but you also have your individual reports as well to get those individual monthly metrics that you can share. So you can certainly have a summary report running alongside your individual books.
Yeah.
Now, just to note as well, if you do accidentally do what I did there and add your first bit of coverage to the default coverage section, you can just come in here and change it. Because I forgot to do that.
I wasn't going to pull you up on it.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so we can just edit that. Yeah, and then you can basically just keep going with this. So again, just we can now just search for the March book. Oh, excuse me. There we go. Select the clips, just add that to our book, create new section, March 2024, add section and go. So you can just keep doing that time after time. If you wanted to create a more kind of curated report with separate sections in it, then that's absolutely fine. That's how you do that. The next thing I wanted to look at is actually using the Just Highlights button down at the bottom here. Now, if you tend to create reports that include a highlights page, like I've got one here, and what I mean by that is if you go into the sections of coverage as you're importing, if you just click on the gold star in the top right-hand corner of your clip, it will add it to your highlights page. This is a really good thing because it means that you can showcase the really standout pieces of coverage in a report to your report readers, and they're more likely to see those pieces rather than having to read through the whole thing. So it's a really good thing.
Your best bit is always hidden down, isn't it? So
yeah.
It's just make sure it's not hidden
in the book. So highlights are really good for that. The other thing it's really, really good for as well is that you can just hit this Just Highlights button. It will pull through all of those clips that you've marked as really standout pieces, and then you can just select all and just slam them into a book. So it's really quick and easy. If anybody says, what are the best pieces of coverage for this particular client, you can just come here and use that Just Highlights button and get it in a few clicks.
Really good for pitches as well, this one. If you're pitching for a new client and you want to showcase the types of coverage that you might have for a client, obviously the retainer might be different, the style might be different, but you can say, look, this is just an example of some of the best pieces we've got for similar client Z or something like that. And again, when you're pitching for clients, I know what it's like on time, so you can do that really quickly and just say, these are some good bits. And then you could use David's layering section to search some of like the key publications that you also might want to include into it. And then you can very quickly just make almost like a highlights reel of your agency per client or overall agency. So it's a real quick way to don't know how many of you were on our webinar last time, but just like making each piece of coverage work as hard as it can for you. So you've already got this coverage, you've already said that it's a highlight piece of coverage. Is a really good piece. So think of as many ways you can put it into books, and then reuse it and again. Really showcase like the work that you've got.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, we're almost at the end actually, and I have just one other thing to mention, which is the share button that I didn't talk about earlier. And so this is a really good thing. Customers have asked us in the past, oh, we'd love to just be able to grab a link and share just one piece of coverage with our clients, perhaps in an email or whatever. And you can do that really easily. So you can either do it from the actual Coverage Vault list itself, just click on the share button here, or you can do it from when you're actually viewing the clip in the edit page as well. If you click on the share link here, it will create a unique URL just to this piece of coverage. So the really good thing with this is that when you share it, it will look like a standard clip would present amongst other clips in a report, but it's just a standalone piece of coverage. So it's a really nice way of just showcasing and sharing just one hit with your clients.
So, for example, if you're going to do your daily email and just say, hey, we've just to let you know these 5 pieces have gone live. I know I used to spend lots of time saying these 5 pieces have gone live. The first one in this example is the conversation, and it has this type of audience. It saves you having to do that, because when the client clicks on it, they'll click on this link. You'll have all of the supporting metrics and information around the piece of coverage. They can see the coverage and they can click through more. So not only does it give you all the metrics at your fingertips, it gives the clients it when they open it. So it's just a really good way to quickly fire off those morning coverage alert emails with some metrics around it.
Brilliant. Yeah, yeah, super helpful. And if at any point you want to stop that link from being viewable, you can just click on stop sharing and it will just delete that link. So yeah, super easy to use. I think that's about all that I had to showcase with the Coverage Vault. I mean, if you do start using this and you have any questions about specific books in your account or how to do something using the Vault, using your own reports, then do get in touch with us at CoverageBook at support@coveragebook.com or using the chat messenger, which will appear in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen when you're logged in. And we'll get back to you, but we'd love to hear your feedback as well. And we hope you found that helpful today.
So I can see the chat's been quite busy, but I think Will has been covering it, but I will highlight it. Darcy, I hope we showed you how you can create new books. Yeah, we were talking about the how you can select coverage for ages, but didn't move on to creating books. So hopefully your question's been answered. Joanna asked if we have an API feature to pull estimated views to document like Google Sheets. Looks like Will's already replied, but yes, he's correct. The best thing is to create a book and download the CSV. So hopefully that answers your question as well. How affordable are the estimated views? Sometimes they are 0. If you have any questions about a specific piece of coverage as you go through, you can always use the chat feature that David sent, and we're more than happy to look at each piece of coverage to see or explain the metrics specifically to that one. So hopefully that one will answer that question. If you have we answered them? Do you have estimated? Thank you. And what are the unique visits? Do they concern the whole media visits and not the single piece? So yes, so the unique visits, David, would you mind just quickly?
Yeah, sure. Let's do this one here.
Oh, am I answering or you?
we go.
So unique visits, anything in this greyish box looks at the outlet as a whole. So that publication. So for the conversation, the whole publication has a domain authority of 92 and 11.5 million unique visits come to that website per month. And then on the right-hand side are more the page level metrics. So they're the metrics that are more associated to that piece of coverage itself. So are often much lower numbers, but once you get comfortable with them, are probably a lot more realistic about how many people will see your coverage as you go through. So hopefully that answers that one. I've just had a Q&A as well, that's come through. Oh, it's been answered. So can you copy coverage from one account to another account of another person? Oh,
Unfortunately, no. So when you create your coverage book account, it has a unique workspace ID, and basically all of the reports you create are just unique to that account. It's not possible to transfer reports from one to another. What you could potentially do, though, is if your reports contain mostly online and social coverage, you could grab a CSV with all of those links in a sheet.
yeah.
You could rebuild the report in another account if you would like to do that. Just bear in mind that the metrics may change as we pull through new audiences, new engagements, and shares and stuff when you import coverage. But that could be an easier way of getting a report remade in another coverage book account.
Chatty on the questions today. So let me know if you have any other questions. I hope you have enjoyed that. If you are interested even more in the vault, Will, could you quickly share in the chat? I wrote a blog post and I'll share this with the notes of the webinar as well. So we've spoken more about how you can use the vault in finding and creating books. You can do so much more with the vault. We just couldn't fit it in this half an hour. First time we've actually gone over, David. Ooh. 2 minutes over. So what happens when you put us in a room together? This blog post explores more how you can use it in campaign planning and brainstorming. So do check it out. And if you have any questions, let us know. So yeah, we'll be oh, some more questions have come through. Thank you. Oh, thank you for the thank yous. Another questions. There are times when we load links to reel, but it doesn't pull up the reel instead of error, but the coverage is there. Again, do you want to, if there's any specific ones like that, it's probably best to pop them through to the support channel and we can look individually at that specific link for you. Yeah,
there are some parameters around certain settings for people's accounts that mean that some reels, although you can view them as a visible logged in user yourself, they might not actually pull through an embed to us. But if you come through with some examples, we'd be happy to check those for you.
Perfect. Oh, Darcy, I'm glad you're looking forward to using the vault. Brilliant. We've showed the case of the vault to a few more people, then our day is done. Yeah. So yes, thank you everyone for joining. I'll be sending up the follow-up notes and the video probably tomorrow. As always, any questions, hit support@coveragebook.com. And thank you, Will, for being on the keyboards. See you later.
See you later. Bye.